Welcome back. Let's read this. I'm laying in my bed. I don't like to get up and the auto reading not work, so I have to read page by page.
Wheelwright. Wheelwright reenact in New Salem, Illinois. Wheelwright's workshop at the Amberley Working Museum, West Sussex, England. A wheelwright is a craftsman who builds or repairs wooden wheels. The word is the combination of wheel and the word wright, which comes from the Old English word ritter, meaning a worker, a shaper of wood, as in shipwright and arkwright. 1. This occupational name became the English surname Wright. It also appears in surnames like Cartwright and Wainwright. It corresponds with skillful metal workers being called smith. These tradesmen made wheels for carts, cartwheels, wagons, wains, traps and coaches, and the bolt drives of steam-powered machinery. They also made wheels, and often the frames, for spinning wheels for home use. First constructing the hub, called the nave, the spokes and the rim segments called felloes, pronounced fellow, 2, and assembling them all into a unit working from the center of the wheel outwards. Most wheels were made from wood, but other materials have been used, such as bone and horn, for decorative or other purposes. Some earlier construction for wheels, such as those used in early chariots, were bound by rawhide that would be plied wet and would shrink whilst drying, compressing and binding the woodwork together. After many centuries, wheels evolved to be straked with iron, a method of nailing iron plates on tooth fills to protect against wear on the ground and to help bind the wheel together. Straking was considered to be a less skilled practice and could be done with less knowledge and equipment. This made wheels easier to service without the need for a blacksmith. Over millennia, the overall appearance of the wheel barely changed, but subtle changes to the design, such as dishing and staggered spokes, helped keep up with the demands of a changing world. These small changes in design made a massive improvement to the strength of the wheel whilst reducing its weight. Vehicles became more efficient to build and use. Industrial age. During the Industrial Age, iron strakes were replaced by a solid iron tire custom made by a blacksmith after the wheelwright had measured each wheel to ensure proper fit. Iron tires were always made slightly smaller than the wheel in circumference. They were expanded by heating in a fire, and while hot they were traditional wheelwright. Worldwide wheelwright Phil Gregson fitting iron strakes to a traditional wooden wheel hammered, and pulled by a levered hook, onto the rim of the wheel. The whole tire was then cooled by placing it into water. This shrank it onto wood, and closed the wooden joints. Tires were fastened to the wheels with nails, or tire bolts. The metal tires were drilled before being placed on the wheel. Tire bolts were less likely than tire nails to fall off because they were bolted through the felloes. Both countersunk and flush finished to the wheel's outer surface. This plate, published in a volume of Encyclopedia in 1769, shows both methods of shoeing a wheel. In the center, the laborers are using hammers and devil's claws to fit a hoop onto the felloe, and on the right they are hammering strakes into place. During the second half of the 19th century, the use of pre-manufactured iron hubs and other factory-made wood, iron and rubber wheel parts become increasingly common. Companies such as Henry Ford's developed manufacturing processes that soon made the village wheelwright obsolete. With the onset of two world wars, the trade soon went into decline and was very rare by the 1960s and almost extinct by the year 2000. However, owing to the efforts of organizations like the Worshipful Company of Wheelwrights, wheelwrights still continue to operate in the UK. 3. In modern times, wheelwrights continue to make and repair a wider variety of wheels, including those made from wood and banded by iron tires. The word wheelwright remains a term usually used for someone who makes and repairs wheels for horse-drawn vehicles. Alt-Haufert is sometimes used to refer to someone who repairs wheels, wheel alignment, rims, drums, discs and wire spokes on modern vehicles such as automobiles, buses and trucks. Wheels for horse-drawn vehicles continue to be constructed and repaired for use by people who use such vehicles for farming, competitions and presentations of historical events such as reenactments and living history. Wheelwrighting today. A modern wooden wheel generally consists of three main parts: the nave or hub at the center of the wheel, the spokes radiating out from the center, and the felloes or rims around the outside. Generally the wheel would be bound by a steel or iron tire depending on its historical period and purpose. The main timbers used in a traditional wooden wheel are elm for the nave, oak for the spokes and ash for the felloes, although this can vary in some areas depending on availability of timber, climate and style of production. Sometimes hickory is substituted for oak and ash as it is easier to bend for mass production and is quite springy for light wheels that require a bit of flexibility. The elm is used for its interwoven grain. This prevents the nave from splitting with the force of the spokes being driven in tight. The oak is used because it doesn't bend, compress or flex and transfers any load pressures directly from fills to the nave. Traditional wheelwright. Worldwide wheelwright Phil Gregson fitting iron strakes to a traditional wooden wheel helmet, and the ash is used for its flexibility and springy nature. This acts as a form of suspension and protects against shock damage. The future. In the second half of the 20th century, wheelwright training faded away due to a lack of demand for new wooden wheels. The skills were kept alive by small businesses, museums, societies and trusts such as the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, USA, and the Countryside Agency, UK. The Worshipful Company of Wheelwrights in London, UK, maintains a flourishing, government-backed apprenticeship scheme that began in 2013. Colonial Williamsburg, USA, has an ongoing apprenticeship program and has recently, 2016, taken on new apprentices. See also: artillery wheel, tiring platform, wheel building, Worshipful Company of Wheelwrights. References.
Good. I will stop the video and make some video on my language Danish. I had to make some video about the history of the car, the invention of the wheel and the spokes in the wheel. So now they have a lightweight wheel that they use on different kind of horse wagons. And this horse wagon they use many centuries, many 100 years. And then they did inventing the steam engine in the 1700s. They invented the steam engines. Then something clever they think about to put the steam engine on top of the horse wagon, and then to pull the wheels with spoke around like this. But the first steam engine that just used this wheel to pull on the ground in the 70s. So they just put the cylinder like this, and then this wheel pulling the wagon. But now I will stop the video.